Hey everybody, it's your girl Bunny. To all of my returning subscribers, hey, how you doing? And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Kick your feet up, subscribe to this family-friendly channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any posts. Also follow me on Instagram at the same profile name so you don't miss the sneak peeks of what's coming up next. In this video, it's The Handmaid's Tale, Season 4, Episode 8, entitled Testimony. I give a recap of the entire episode with photos offset to the side, and then I give my review at the end. No need to dig around. I have all of the minute marks in the comments. It's all coming up next. June cuts off her hair and from her body language gets physical liberation. There's a counseling group of women and a woman shares that her experience with cutting herself was to cope with her trauma. She's free, but her commander is as well. She continues to explain that if she were June, she would be nervous just hearing the details about the trial. Moria says, well, it's just a confirmation of the charges hearing, and she doesn't have to go. There's nothing wrong with making a written statement. The ladies continue to converse, saying that June wants to go and speak and tell her story in person, that she must be scared, worried, and doesn't she know that the defense gets to ask questions? June says, I'm not nervous, worried, or scared. I can't effing wait. June is surprised that she doesn't have that much in common with the other women in the group. Talking about feelings, forgiveness, journaling. Why aren't the ladies more angry? Moria says, well, how do you know they aren't? As they speak, they overhear a bearing woman demanding to speak with Emily. She's trying to give her contact information, and Emily is very uncomfortable, telling her to leave her alone. June demands that she go away. What's your name? Who are you? And the lady finally leaves. After Emily leaves, June picks up the paper that the lady dropped on the floor. Later at dinner, everyone is having small talk about what they'll do next. Moria is talking about coding again and how she's a little rusty, and they question if Emily will go back to teaching. June interrupts the mood by asking Emily, who is Iris Baker? Emily explains that she knew her as Aunt Irene. She was assigned to the first post before meeting June. June continues to press Emily and insists that she meet with this woman face to face to take immediate action. Doing so will make her feel better. She asks, what did the woman want? What did she do to you? And you need to do everything you have to do to get whatever you're holding in out. Luke and Moria say, stop it, June, you're being too pushy, and they don't like her behavior. Emily says, well, not everyone is like you, June. Luke talks to June in private and says that if Emily wanted us to know certain details, she would discuss it, and he can't understand why June doesn't want him present at the testimony. June argues that she doesn't want him to hear such graphic detail. Luke also says that Mark wants to hear more information about the lake house and the last time you saw Hannah, since that's more information. It's obvious June is upset that he told Mark the details and says that information I didn't want to tell him yet, and storms off from talking to Luke. Luke vents to Moria that June doesn't want him to be present at the hearing. She's different, and in bed it's awkward. She doesn't even want to discuss Hannah. It's like she's a stranger half of the time. Moria says trauma is a bumpy road and you have no idea what she's been through. And Luke says, exactly. That's the problem. And June hears the conversation from the stairs. Serena reads out loud some of the testimony statements from Moria about how Fred couldn't perform sexually and forced her to be intimate with other women at the Jezebel location as he pleasured himself. Serena thinks that Fred's information looks like it won't stand up in court, that he still calls June a Fred, and it would be helpful if he called her June. His words reflect the both of them. Fred thinks that Serena should stand by him in court so they appear to be a happy family. Also, that she shouldn't let June get away with feeling as if she's too afraid to face her. Serena then agrees to join him in court tomorrow, and Fred suggests Serena wear the teal. Aunt Lydia is very stern as to why the scrubbing and the cleaning from the handmaids isn't completed. She scolds them to rub harder and faster. While doing so, she sees other aunts talking and laughing. She assumes that they're talking about her and tells her that gossiping isn't a good thing. Out of anger, she cattle-prods one of the handmaids and the aunt. The others look at her shocked over her reaction. June is cued that the testimony will now begin. As June walks in, she sees Serena and Fred side by side. She's instructed to raise her right hand to swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. She asks for a Bible and if there was one, but she's informed that there's not a Bible in this court. She swears to tell the truth and takes her place, and Luke arrives. The court informs June that she can begin her testimony on her own time. She begins with saying, "My name is June Osborne. Fred Waterford and Serena Waterford imprisoned me, beat me, and forced themselves on me. I came to the Waterford's house in 2017. It was my second posting." She explains the fluidities of forced sex, how she became pregnant with her daughter, escape attempts, and final escape, which brought her to Canada. She spoke for the women who couldn't tell their stories, and how she asked the court to give them the maximum sentences for justice. Now it's time for the defense to question June. The defense comes in very harsh, asking, "Didn't you have an affair with a married man? And wasn't it your choice to go to Gilead?" June says that her journey to Gilead wasn't her choice. Fred interrupts, saying that the methods are the best in Gilead, and Gilead is the only place where birth rates are high. And it's all because of God's work, and his wife is pregnant now due to it. June has had enough, and she's done, and she will give more details at the trial. Lawrence and Lydia speak, and he's been made aware of her actions, disciplining a handmaid and an aunt that weren't defiant. He lets her know that there's nothing she can say to convince him otherwise, because those handmaids have been in their roles their whole lives. It's obvious that she's upset because June has won, and she got away. He tells her, people like June because she's likable. People don't like you. Don't feel bad, Lydia, because no one really likes me either. He wants things to be back to the way that they were, to their normal. He tells her that a handmaid was found in Chicago, and she's under their care. It's her fault that she escaped. Since she's back in our custody, it's time for punishment. And since Lydia likes to inflict pain so much, and the girl is her responsibility, she needs a better outlet. And do with her what you will. Lydia explains that she doesn't like to inflict pain. That's not the case at all. And Lawrence walks away. Women in the counseling group talk about how Fred behaved in court and how it was typical of him. Also, that the internet has been having a field day with everything. June arrives and they applaud her as she walks in. June then tells everyone that the woman known as Aunt Irene was waiting for Emily outside. And Moria can't understand why she's there, and she shouldn't be here. It's the wrong place and the wrong time. They all agree that they should take a vote of the matter, and they vote that the woman should stay so she can say what she needs to say. June wants her to admit of the crimes and behaviors that she's performed, the beatings. She tries to justify her actions by saying it was a way to keep them safe. And she also says that she once found out Emily had a sexual encounter with one of the Marthas, and she reported her to the eyes. This caused the woman to be killed and Emily to be mutilated. Emily has had enough, and the woman pleads for forgiveness and asks what can she do. And Emily tells her there's nothing that she can do. June tells her that you use God to justify your wrongdoings. You lied, and you said you were a refugee. And the fact that you came here, you have a new life, a new name. What in the world makes you think that you deserve forgiveness? And she says that we're all God's children, and And June calls her out on the BS and says, you use God to get what you need as your benefit. Luke and June have dinner together, and he apologizes for coming to court, but he wanted to know everything so they could learn how to move on. He wants more conversations, but she always says, we're good. He cries, telling June, I'm trying to be there. I don't know what else to do. June tries to initiate a kiss and to unbuckle his pants to start sex, but he says, you know what? No, June. Talk to me. And June walks off in anger. Lydia takes the time to speak with Janine and tells her it was Gilead that saved you from starvation, you know? They saved your life. They made sure to clean house in Chicago. As Lydia begins to leave the room, Janine whispers, where's June? Lydia says she made it to Canada. Don't you see? She left you. Maybe you were just too much. And she's happy that June made it and knows that June wouldn't do such a thing. She knows what happens to people that come to this facility, and they keep torturing until people die. She says they'll keep torturing me until I die. All I request is don't make me a handmaid ever again. She tries to convince her yet again that June deceives people, and you've gone your whole life losing the people that you love. Janine says again, I'd rather die here than to be a handmaid. Please, Lydia. Shockingly, Lydia hugs her, saying, now what were we ever going to do with you? Moria speaks with Emily and says that it's messed up what June did. All of the mess that Gilead put them through, and all they can do is try to move forward and make something. Emily agrees that was kind of messed up what June did, but it wasn't enough. Moria thinks that Emily should try to talk to her again, and maybe in private to convince her to testify. Investigations are clearly more and go further than just the Waterfords. Emily drives to the address given and notices that police and other medical care teams have surrounded the area. She sees that the woman has ended her own life. Emily takes a final look and quickly turns around to leave the location. Serena and Fred listen to the protesters outside, and Fred predicts that the protesters were inevitable. He also confirms that he meant everything that he said in court, and all Serena can say is, When they go outside, they notice that the crowd isn't a bunch of protesters at all. It's a group of people in support of them, giving the Waterfords praise. Fred turns to Serena and says, they heard us. The media is also there, as Serena has found a new wave of confidence. They hold hands, smile, and even Fred waves to the crowd, knowing that they have their support. The ladies meet again to talk about the death of Irene, and they say that Emily shouldn't feel guilty, that it's sad, and it would have been better if she went to court to testify. But June wants to know how Emily feels. Emily says, I feel amazing. I'm actually glad she's dead, and I hope I had something to do with it. There's a brief pause, and the other ladies chime in and say what they would do to their aunts, Marthas, and commanders if they were there. They would do violent things. And Moria says, hey, it's okay to have anger, but we don't want to vent by saying these things. June says it's okay to be furious and that it's normal, and different people have different ways of coping. We should be furious. Moria then calls that the meeting is over and it's been an hour, but June says that she'll stay later if anybody else wants to stay. And they all agree and want to stay with June. It's obvious from Moria's body language that she doesn't like June taking over the meeting and that the ladies are grieving in a different way. June comes home and takes a long pause before going upstairs to talk with Luke. When she sees him face to face, she finally says that, "I need to tell you something. I need to tell you about the last time I saw Hannah." And that is the end of the episode. Now it is time for your favorite part of the video, and that is my review. So a lot of the things that I discussed in the last review for the last episode are happening. We're seeing shifts and changes in dynamics when it comes to relationships. Before I begin with that, did June lie about being intimate with Lawrence? Because from what I remember, and I may be wrong because this was years ago with different seasons, that Lawrence didn't want to be intimate with June, that he, wasn't going to make her. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that June and Lawrence were intimate. If I'm right that June lied about that one thing, this can be something that could cause the case to go awry and to have the case go in a direction that June doesn't want it to go, right? Because if one lie is detected, how can everything else be believable? The defense can say, well, if she lied about this one detail, how do we know that she was forced upon? And how does she know that she was beaten? And how do we know? So lies and saying that one thing could really mess up the case. When she said that, I kind of, frowned like, well, did that happen? If that happened, and I just forgot, I apologize. But I don't remember her and Lawrence being intimate. I don't remember that. I don't remember her going into another room with him. I know that from what my memory, he lied to the wife that everything was just okay while she was in her different world, right? I just don't think that that's true, that they were intimate. And like I said, if that's not true, that one lie in her testimony is done for, and the defense is going to have their way with that. Now, when it comes to Luke, we see that his interest is possible, that the interest in June could be changing. He said to Moria that it's like I'm with a stranger, which is understandable, but the patience level that, he may or may not have is in question. He's trying to help. He's trying to learn more about his daughter. It was great that June says, hey, I got something to tell you about the last encounter with Hannah, because if you remember the last encounter with Hannah didn't remember her. So like I mentioned in the last review, she embellished the truth the last time that she spoke with Hannah. The different times that she met with Hannah when she was younger, she told her that mommy and daddy tried to find you. We love you. That's true. But there had been so much time in between that and the last time she saw Hannah. Hannah appeared very afraid of her, and it appeared that she didn't know who she was, which caused June to be very sad and venting to Moria, right, when they were on the ship coming back to Canada, that she didn't even remember who I was. He'll never forgive me, saying all this other stuff. So that could be another shift. We're seeing the relationship shift of Moria, right? The dynamic of their friendship. Now, at the beginning of this episode, she made a comment in the ladies group saying that June is just going to the hearing, not the trial, and it's okay if she doesn't want to go, and it's okay even if you want to give an opening statement, as if she were saying that her level of bravery isn't any better than anybody else's. If somebody didn't want to make an opening statement, that's just as brave as somebody going in to a hearing, and then kind of downs it just a little bit by saying, oh, it's just a hearing. She's going to the hearing, not the trial, because she heard the lady say, oh, June's so brave, and I would be nervous and I was scared. And just listen to the details on the news was a lot for me. So it's just like she's, when she made that statement, it's like Moria was just kind of saying, well, kind of putting out to the ladies that making a statement is just as brave. Because remember, Serena was reading the testimony while speaking to Fred, right? Oh, Moria should make this statement. It's really gonna be believable in court. And so we already know that my thought process with that has to be correct. Because why would Moria even say that? Why would she even bring that up? And the fact that she brought that up, and the next scene we see and hear Serena reading the testimony. So Moria didn't go possibly to a hearing. She just decided just to give a statement, a written statement. So that can cause some conflict there. That relationship is slowly breaking down because Moria has had to sacrifice a lot. She's gone into mommy mode. She's sacrificed a lot with her relationship with Una. She's done a lot of sacrificing, and even turning down Una the first time we met her, and she was saying, just come with me, just live with me. And she turned that down in order to be there for Luke, and also in order to be there for June's daughter. So she's given up a lot. And just seeing the praise from the other women, like, oh, June's doing this and this and this. And it's like, Maria's like, a statement is just as good, And then on top of that, Moria has this group of women where they can vent and they can talk and they can have their own counseling with each other and talking with one another and saying their anger. All right. So she has kind of this leadership role with the group. And now June kind of basically taking over and saying that, hey, that was one way to cope, but you can vent and you can be furious too. And Moria tries to end the meeting saying, hey, it's been an hour. And then June steps in and says, well, I'm staying a little later. Who wants to stay? And all of them want to stay. All of the ladies want to follow June's direction when she said, hey, I think we should listen to this lady, Irene, and let her say what she wants to say. And they let her say that. And June having this dominant leadership of, you don't deserve an apology and you don't deserve. So women not really having that venting of being furious and feeling guilty about being furious. So you have all of this layering of, man, I can't even have a little group, a counseling group. That's all I had left. Now she's taking that over too. So it's all of these things that will probably break Moria and saying, oh, you know what? I'm done. Clearly you got your life under control. Let me live my life. You've completely dominated mine. And I think that that's next, which is understandable because just like in real life, just because you've been friends with a certain period of time, there are things in life that can change the friendship dynamic to where it's not suitable for you to be friends anymore. And I can make a good educated guess that Moria will say that. She will crack and she will break and she will say that. So I just have a feeling that will happen. If it doesn't happen, I wonder, well, why wouldn't that be a topic that would come up for Moria? Because she's literally jeopardized a lot of things in her life and changed a lot of things in her life to help her friend, which is what friends are for, right? But when it comes to coping and living and having something, it's always dominated by June. And dealing with trauma is different with everyone else, and funneling anger is different with everyone else. Now, when the protesters, quote unquote supporters, right, showed up outside, they're outside, and Serena and Fred are expecting the worst, and they see this support outside. What has me questioning is like, okay, if y'all followers of Gilead and y'all support of Fred and Serena, basically, then why are y'all in Canada? Shouldn't they just go to Gilead and live that lifestyle? Are they not allowed to go to Gilead? Are they being held there by Canada? I highly doubt. But it's just like, if you guys support that and you guys are cheering them on, then why are you enjoying the freedoms of Canada and doing what you want to do, right? So I would want to know that information as well. If those supporters that were outside, along with the media, are supporters of what's going on with the Waterfords, why are they still there? I would want to know, are they being held there as supporters? That really wouldn't make sense to me. But I guess if you put it into current day things, would you tell somebody, okay, you agree with these formalities, so don't live here? So I'm really confused as to, you agree with the lifestyles and things of Gilead. How does that mesh with the freedoms and the lifestyles that you have in Canada? What are their lives like? Because I was just really confused. Like, did they bring some people in to act like they're supporters for the media? Was this something Gilead planned to give them that boost of confidence? Also, does Gilead see the media press of this? Did Gilead see on their ends, right? Serena and Fred walking out hand in hand, her in the teal color, him with the confidence, them holding hands, them working together. Did they see that? And if they saw it, how are they interpreting that within the council? How is Lawrence interpreting that and others? So I'm really, it kills me that we have to wait a week. It's like, if they had put the entire season up in one day and load all of them like they used to do way back when, I would have been done with the season a long time ago, because waiting every week is just like torturous. And I'm like, oh, what else am I gonna watch since Game of Thrones isn't on? I have to watch whatever I can to forget that I'm waiting a week to see the next episode. I did see the preview for next week, but I always try not to discuss the preview for next week because I totally want to do the reviews based on what I've just seen. And from what I've just seen, I hope that those conversations about Moyer and her life, Luke and his relationship and his ideas about June, because it's painful to watch June and Luke try to be intimate and share kisses, because it feels forced. It feels like there's no chemistry there. And even at the end, when June tried to comfort Luke and tell him, hey, I have some things about Hannah that I want to share with you, will he take that information well? Will he be on this "you kind of lied to me" thing? Like, wow, you said that it was this and this and this, and then that's not the truth. How much are you saying that's the truth, and how much are you embellishing? Will he be able to take her word for what it is? Can he trust her? And then also him feeling the same way as her friend. Like, I've given up so much, because you're my wife, but I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to comfort you. I don't know how to, so their relationship and their dynamic, it not lasting won't be shocking. It'll be sad, but it won't be shocking. The fact that the defense of the Waterfords knew about June and Luke, and that how June and Luke had an affair while Luke was still married, blows my mind. How did they find that out, right? Like, if they know that, how much information do they really, 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 really have? And what is really going on? Because for them to know that detail, I'm really curious to find out where they got that information from. And it's got me scratching my head on, what is this defense going to say? When the defense attorney says that, oh, you chose. It's kind of like when June's just like, no, it was either go to Gilead or go to, somewhere else just as torturous. And she said, oh, but you chose. It's this, we're going to play this narcissistic, questioning, kind of playing on the minds type of questions. This is just the hearing. Those were just like 3 questions. So when we get to the trial, how gruesome is it really gonna be? And also, are the plaintiffs going to enter in what's been on my mind since the beginning of this season? Can we have DNA testing as soon as it's healthy, right, of the baby? Because if it's in the testimony, if it's in statements, if it's, all of this proof of Fred being infertile, right, I think he's aware that may not be his baby. And as I said in the last review, I think that he's in a little bubble of a world with maybe a lawyer to the side. He's going to do whatever he can for Serena to help him in his case, because he's saying his family and we should be together, and I meant what I said and all this stuff. But I think he's going to throw Serena under the rug, because when you start talking about jail time, you'd be amazed how people can change their viewpoints and who they're going to throw under the rug in order to save their own butt. So let's see about that. I don't know. It's very iffy. I like the way that this season is going, because we're starting to see what are the fluidities of justice now that we're in Canada. And what are the fluidities of, you have people that live in Canada that have these views of Gilead Are they a danger to trying to keep the people that of trauma safe? So these are things that are so realistic, and the writing is impeccable. I've seen a few comments on Instagram that have said, oh, these episodes are boring. Oh, these episodes are this. These episodes are not boring. These episodes hold critical detail to a crescendo that may happen. What happened to Irene as when she was driving? I had a feeling that the way that the lady was acting in the library, trying to desperately talk to Emily and making it seem like she was losing her mind, I had a feeling. I'm like, that lady unfortunately is going to harm herself because she looks like she's about to lose it. But I'm really want people to understand that this type of writing is very, very, very important, because even though it may look as if this case is just cut and dry, like, oh, they're guilty, it's testimonies to this and all sorts of stuff, there can be factors that can cause whoever the people are. I don't know if they're going to have a jury in the trial. Are they just going to have a panel of judges? Are they spies? Are they what? And let's just speak hypothetically. Let's fast forward to the end of this season, which I think they're going to do as a cliffhanger. And this is my guess, is that there will be embellished lies that they have found out from June that will jeopardize the entire case. And it's unfortunate. And I think that they will be released from Canada back into Gilead, and it's gonna seem like, oh yay, great, everything's fine, and then they meet their doom in Gilead, and that's gonna be will Gilead receive them, or will they push them away? Because emotionally, you can show Fred and Serena like, oh, they went in the case and I can't believe they're going to get away with this. But when they go back to Gilead, it'll be a totally different story. Or will they even make it? Will somebody do a crazy thing and try to just be through with them before the trial is even over? I mean, that's plausible. Somebody who's been under their torture say, you know what, forget the trial. I just take care of this myself, and I'd rather be in jail than to know that they're free, or something like that. It's going to be a long process with this trial. It's going to be a lot of detail. And I love murder mysteries. I love documentaries about court cases. And these details, I know I keep saying this, are very, very, very important. Because if you just kind of scrape over this court case and all of the details and military and their laws and people that have beliefs and all of this stuff, when a crescendo does happen, it's going to be disappointing and it's going to seem cheesy. So they have to take their time, develop a case, showing how the relationship dynamics are changing, because we're talking about a person that's been away, or people that have been away from a quote unquote normal lifestyle into Gilead, which is torture and all this other stuff. And they're coming back and trying to develop their own normal. But you have to sift through that. You have to get the stories out. You have to have people to have their testimonies, written statements. And then from there, a lot of people have to connect the dots on what happened in between. Because even though June gave her testimony, there's still so much detail that she hasn't shared, because it's years that she's been a handmaid. She just gave the cliff notes of everything that she's been through. But that's my prediction. Something will backfire, unfortunately, during the trial. Because of maybe some embellishments here and there, because the defense will take anything and run with it. The minute that you lie or you say anything that isn't the truth, they're going to use that against you in the courtroom. So let me know what you think. Subscribe. Don't forget to like this video, and share this channel with family and friends. This is a family friendly channel. Even though this particular show isn't intended for children, this is a positive vibe, good vibes channel only. I try to be as positive as possible. Share this channel. Also follow me on Instagram at the same profile name, officialbunne_e. And in the meantime, make sure that you check out some of those pinned links that are in the pinned comment. Watch some shows that you haven't heard of that may sound interesting. Because, we get in the habit of watching the same shows and maybe the same genres, and maybe sometimes don't want to go out of our comfort zone. But make sure you check some of those out. I have some in the pinned comments, but also make sure to check out other shows. There is also a show, Wu-Tang: An American Saga, that is a HULU original series. If you haven't seen that series, that is in the playlist. Make sure to check that out, because Wu-Tang: An American Saga is coming back for season 2 this fall, which gives you plenty of time to binge watch my reviews and recaps, or just binge watch on Hulu, because I would love to see your perspectives on that. And make sure you check out the reality show on the OWN Discovery Network and channel, Ready to Love, which is a reality show dating series. I would love to see your ideas and comments about that. We have Iyanla Fix My Life, which is the last season of that show, and just so much more. Let's Talk. That playlist that's in the pinned comment as well is some of your more pop culture and topics that are out lately, and my thoughts about that. Since this is a movie and television show channel, I have the Let's Talk playlist, which is dealing with pop culture, politics, and things that are happening. So in the meantime, if you're here just for The Handmaid's Tale, that's cool. I'll see you next week for the next episode, for the recap and the review. In the meantime, take care of yourself and each other. Bye.